I'm not tired. You're tired. Good morning, everybody. It is a very early edition of the Grappling Hour, fueled by coffee, though they're not a sponsor. Hey, it is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Rafa Sparsa, coming to you live right now. It is 7:08 Best Coast time. Very exciting show. I'll get to our guests in a second. You know them, you love them, and if you don't, well, go somewhere else. No, please don't go anywhere else. That would be very annoying. We're off to a great start. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. If you guys want to get some new gear, because I'm not speaking for everybody, but I'm saying if you happened to go up a weight because of some sort of predicament, we encourage you to go to Nogi BJJ Gear. Use the promotional code Grappling Hour 15. Take 15% off of whatever you put in the cart. And I would suggest to you this. There is actually a rash guard called the Corona Weight Champ. Now, when we talk to our next guest right now, he's somebody who's not going to be able to win a Worlds or a Pan's title this year in the gi. So in theory, if you win this, you would win maybe more titles than JT. Listen, I don't want to say that because then he's going to try and get really angry about that and he might try and beat you up. But the important thing is there is a Corona Weight Champ rash guard that you can pick up and tell someone to prove that you're not. Because chances are, right now, depending on your state, they probably can't roll with you. Anyway, what do I say about our first guest? Our guest today is one of the nicest human beings. He is a champ in the ADCC realm. He's been on the show before. Normally, we space out our guests a little bit more. We check in every year or so, or 8 months, or when there's something significant that happens. And it seems like there was something significant that happened to him and his gym. So we decided to speed up the process, check back in with the man himself, one JT Torres. JT, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Not too bad, though. You know, it's funny. I'm looking to put this on my Facebook, and Facebook tells me that The Rock just bought the XFL. So,
wow.
Like normally I don't bring outside stuff in, but that's such a weird random headline that I was like, Jesus Christ. That's kind of how weird 2020 is at this point.
It's been strange. It's definitely been a strange year to say the least, man.
Well, let's start right off the top. I think it's really important we get there. Your name was mentioned over the weekend. A certain Gareth Tonin seemed to beat somebody and had kind words about you. Do you have a response to it?
Gary's always, a great competitor to go against. At this time, though, I have other things to take care of first. I'm sure as many people are aware, there is a pandemic going around the world that's kind of just put everything on hold. And I'm specifically located here in New York, which has been one of the toughest states as far as on restrictions and on gyms. And I don't know if most people know, but I closed down my gym early in March, and then I reopened a few weeks ago just to be shut down again. So currently I have no academy. These last couple months, I've just been focusing on just trying to keep my business afloat and just trying to path out, like, how am I going to keep the gym alive through these times, and just navigating through these times. I feel like I'm navigating through these times blind. Like, we don't have any answers. They don't give us any dates or times when we can reopen or any of that stuff. So, I appreciate the call out, because people are always going to call you out when, you're a worthy opponent, right? So I see it as a compliment. I appreciate it, but right now it's not the time for me. I'm still training, of course. I'm doing secret speakeasy jiu-jitsu training. I'm bouncing around from garage to garage or basement to basement. It's just staying in shape as best as I can. But obviously, it's not the regimen that I want to have when trying to compete against another world-class competitor. So, right now, my main focus is just keeping my business afloat. And, I think this is something that a lot of people will agree with me, a lot of competitors, that, having an academy is our future. What I'm saying? I can only compete so long. Super fights can only keep me afloat so long. But having an academy and, branching off the academy is what's going to secure my future for me and my future family and all that. So right now I'm doing what I think is most important for me, is focusing on my business and just trying to navigate through these, weird, uneasy times.
I mean, I would love to have a salacious headline come out of this because that's what I'm all about.
Right.
And the hardest part for me is I can't even suggest something fun to the effect of saying like, you know what, you guys should have a Academy pink slip versus Academy pink slip. Oh, right. Yeah, that's not going to work right now for either of you. Okay. I
Right.
would just say that it's been a very difficult time for everybody to navigate. And I think it's understandable that you would be open to something, just maybe not at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just not the time. You know what I'm saying? I got to focus on what's important right now. And to me, that's the academy. And to be honest with you, at the same time, I've competed against Gary 3 times already. And, um, I will say this though, there is a match I would like to have. And I think we spoke about this before on the show. I would love to have a rematch with Kron Gracie. That's a match that I've been wanting. That's a match that would really get me excited, and Kron was the champion in 2013. We were having a great match that ADCC in China. Actually, we were having a really good match. I feel like I was in control of the match, and he ended up catching me in an arm lock. So I would love to run that one back. Since then, I've become a 2-time ADCC champion. He's an ADCC champion. He submitted me when he won his ADCC title. So I think it would be I think that'd be a great match. That'd be a match. That's been a match I wanted to run back for a while now. So maybe we can get that going one day, But like I said, though, first comes first. I gotta take care of what I think is most important, and then after we get through all these times, which I know we will, eventually we'll get through it. Then we can turn the focus back on getting back on the mats and competing and doing all that stuff.
I gotta tell you, man, I hear you, and as a fan, there's a part of me that says I wish we could make that match. I'm also not that bothered by it at the moment. I've been very like, hey, listen, if you're 23 years old and you don't have an academy, obviously get yourself out there and compete.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. For the way that you're explaining it makes me say, all right, man, yeah, we can get back to this because like you mentioned right now, and I want to get into that, but I kind of want to paint the picture of what you were up to and then lead into how that ended up happening with you in your gym. Because, I watch you a lot in terms of your Instagram stories, and it's very rare. It takes a pandemic for you to have the same routine as I do, because normally you have giant wrestling practices. You're teaching 4 or 5 times a day. You have these sessions that are marathon sessions. But now I see it's like you being like, I'm going to walk my dog. And I was like, yeah, look at that. Me and JT walking our dogs right now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's got my time right now. So let's talk about this. You said that you were able to shut down in March.
Yes.
Walk us through that timeline so people get a little bit of perspective on that.
So let's get into that. So I remember in March, I was actually gearing up to do a super fight against Thevalente at Third Coast Grappling. So I was training hard for that. And then, of course, at the same time, running my academy. Give a little bit backstory, too, about the academy. The academy was going really well at that time. And we were actually looking to move the gym into a much bigger spot. And I kid you not, man, I was about a week or 2 away from signing a new lease on a huge spot. And then the pandemic hit. And thank God I didn't sign that lease because I would have been in a tougher situation now. But anyways, when this was all going down, we saw the coronavirus breaking out, and I'm like, I'm not too worried about it. You know what I'm saying? And then I started getting closer and closer. There's cases popping up, I think, in California and then Seattle. And then what happened was there was a hot spot in New Rochelle, New York, which is actually the spot where I was looking to sign a new lease at for the academy. So the spot where the COVID-19 was breaking out in New York was literally a few miles away from my academy. So I said, okay, man, maybe we should just shut down just to keep everything safe and, make sure no one gets sick. And I don't want to get sick because then at this time, I started kind of not panicking, but getting a little nervous about it. I'm like, we're not really sure what we're dealing with here. So I'm like, all right, let's just be safe and close down for a few days. I'm sure it's going to pass in a few days, right? Mm. Boy, was I wrong. So we actually closed like a few days before the government mandated us to close. And then obviously, when we first closed, we told our students we'd be back in 2 weeks. That never happened, right? And it's just it kind of got worse and worse and worse and worse. And now we're here 5 months, almost 6 months later. Still, the gym's closed, and it's just like I was saying earlier. I'm just kind of navigating through these waters blind. Like I have no idea what's going to happen. I've been calling the town, the county, whatever, and no one has an answer for me. No one. So it's tough, man. It's tough. And then it's crazy too to see other gyms open, and I'm just like, how, like I try to go about it the right way when I reopened, because there was a gray area in the release of the guidelines in phase 4 of New York reopening. And there was kind of they said martial arts and dance studios, things like that were in high risk category, but you guys can open under certain guidelines. So I opened up and I was doing solo drill classes. Everyone's staying 6 feet apart from one another. Like, still, I wasn't even making enough money with the solo drill classes to pay the bills at the academy, but at least I was losing less money, right? But anyways, I was trying to keep a positive mental attitude through. I'm like, we're going to come back. We're going to come back. At least we're back into doing something. And there was one night when I walked downstairs and I found a notice in my mailbox at the academy. And there was a notice from the county saying that I must shut down immediately or I'll be, fined or whatever, which was bizarre to me because I'm like, I was following the guidelines. No one even came upstairs to see whether I was following the rules or not. They just shut me down. So quickly we contacted the town. Like, what's up? Why did we get shut down again? You guys told us we can open. And they just said they received multiple complaints about us. So someone must have called and complained. So, now I'm back here, back in square one. Gym's closed. And I'm just in a tough spot, man. I'm in a tough spot right now. But just like in jiu-jitsu, man, you get mounted, you get your back taken, you can't panic. If you panic, you usually get submitted pretty easily. So I'm just trying to keep my, a cool, calm demeanor about all this and just trying to figure out what's the best move for me. So I'm just being focused on that, man, and just trying to figure out the next move, man. And unfortunately, no one knows what the next move is. So I'm just kind of taking it day by day, see what news comes out, see what kind of information they give us. But it is what it is. And at the same time, my academy is located like in a little downtown strip where it's right across the street from a train station. So it's very visible, which was great for me as far as business. But I think it's the same thing that's kind of, biting me in the butt right now because a lot of people see me. So they probably saw us, walking up with geese up there and someone called and complained. And like I said, now I'm back here at square one, man.
All right, we're gonna break this up into two different things because there's one thing that I think was important to discuss, which is you just as a person who trains jiu-jitsu, and then I think for the perspective of a school owner and an instructor, because I do feel that there is some overlap. But I was curious for you in particular, were you having any mental health kind of effects because of the lack of training, considering that it is not only your profession but your life?
100%, man. So I've always been somebody who's been motivated and driven and always had some sort of goal to work towards, man. Always. I've always been like that since a child. And these last few months, man, I got to say, there's been days where I woke up and I told myself, like, man, what do I have to work towards today? I have nothing, man. And to me, that's depressing, man. I felt depressed. I felt down. I felt like I was in a dark place, man. Just waking up and not having anything to work towards or something to train for, or it's been weird, man. It's been weird. I've always been a workhorse, man. I've always been somebody who wants to work and do something worthy and work towards something. And I've had that stripped away from me the last 5 months. And look, I understand we have to try our best to, keep people safe and, stop the spread and all that. But it comes to a certain point that, we got to ask ourselves, like, what's the end game here? Like, what, like, what are we going to do? And that's something I've been kind of wrestling with in my mind the last few months. But, I'm trying to stay as positive as I can. And that's something I always preach, positive mental attitude. So it's been hard, very hard, but it's like I'm in a tough match right now. And I just gave up a really good position, but I'm not quitting yet. I'm still working my way out of it.
I understand, especially when you get to the tough metaphor. I've told people that what you guys feel when you're like down 5 points
Yeah.
is the effect of when I feel I have a rough interview, and I'm always like, oh God, all right, listen, this is gonna go much better. There's no way we're gonna lose 2 points in this interview.
Right.
So okay. Obviously, you had to do the shutdown. Did that mean you weren't training you personally at all during that time? Or, you mentioned that everybody's having these different training sessions, but you not training to me is something new. Did you have to take time off from your own personal training?
I did. So it was so crazy too, because when it first happened, like I said in the beginning, I was training to fight Lucas Valente at the Third Coast Grappling. Then a week or two after that, I signed up for Pan Ams. Then after that, I was going to do a small tournament or maybe a super fight and then go right into World. So like I had my, my competition schedule laid out. And usually after Worlds, I take like a month off and then I start focusing again on no-gi. So I was getting ready for all of that. So that means I was training hard, getting ready for it. Then when it first happened, like I said, the big outbreak in New York happened right where I live here in Westchester County. So everyone was kind of spooked at first, everyone was a little spooked. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do. So I actually ended up ordering like rollout mats and I put them upstairs in my second bedroom here in my apartment. And I was just training with my fiance, man, for the first 2 months, just training with her. And then after the first 2 months, I started reaching out to some of my other coaches and, some of my core students. And I said, I've been safe. I just been quarantining in the house for the last 2 months. Have you guys been quarantined, whatever? And they said, yeah. I'm like, let's meet up and do a little bit of training. So we were meeting up, a small group, a handful of us, some of my purple belts and brown belts. Sure. And we're doing a little bit of training for the first like month after those first 2 months. And then after that, I started seeing some of my other students putting, mats in their garages and basements and inviting their friends over. After we started learning more about the COVID-19, that, okay, it's dangerous, whatever. But, obviously if, you take the precautions and, if you're younger and maybe healthier, you probably have a better chance of battling it. So I saw more people started training, more people started getting a little bit more comfortable. And I started jumping in with them too, wherever I could. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still doing that, still doing the speakeasy jiu-jitsu, man, the underground jiu-jitsu. I've been joking around that even with my students that I never thought I would see a day in my life where jiu-jitsu is illegal or, illegal here in New York State, man. We got to sneak around to train and just move around and get a good sweat in.
I think it's pretty funny in that, people don't, so like put it into terms that maybe others could understand if they were watching this who don't do jiu-jitsu. It's pretty much like Michael Jordan's going to your pickup game. And you walking into like somebody's secret training is like, bro, raise your hand if you've got 280cc medals in this garage. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's got to be a great benefit to them, of course. But yeah, man, that's annoying. That's really, really annoying. Again, and I want to be very clear with people where I stand, which is I've had the perspective of it's very easy to get down a negative path on this. And so I've seen so many people in our community go crazy and be very mean and vicious to one another. Oh. And part of the thing that I was observing from an entirely different coast was, despite what was going on, you were keeping a very positive attitude. And I was very appreciative of your attempts to look out for your students, to look out for yourself, to look out for, just a better kindness to others. So it was very disappointing when that happened. I would ask this though, because again, two different people here.
Yep.
To me, were you supplementing any of your training? Because it's one thing to take away all of your jiu-jitsu, but man, I see you doing every kind of workout under the sun.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, did it kick in when you weren't doing jiu-jitsu where you said, oh, you know what? I could still do this or this?
Yeah, I started watching a lot more footage, breaking down matches and technique. It was a good time for me to explore new techniques and try to add them and do mental reps, right? And at the same time, I started lifting a lot more weights, right? I got a couple dumbbells and jump rope and little bands for my apartment. So I was doing little workouts and just, just trying to stay in shape, man. So I was definitely doing more exercise like with weights and bands than I usually do. And yeah, that's what I was doing, man. But I would say the big thing for me was just studying more footage and just, just trying to break down some new techniques. So when we do get back to training full blast, I can play around with those.
Okay, that makes sense. That's good. Again, maybe a sensitive area, but I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
Did you put on any weight as a result of doing this? Because again, it's not like I want to be very clear to people. We're not judging you like, man, JT got real fat, man.
Yeah.
He's now at a rough, 177? Oof, looking rough, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I definitely did gain some weight. But I think it's good weight though, man. By no means that I get like fat or out of shape or anything like that. I like to think that I put on some man weight, man. I'm actually turning 31 in a few weeks, in a month from now. Today's August 2nd, right?
Mm-hmm.
September 2nd, I'll be 31. So I'd like to think that my man weight and man strength are starting to kick in now. So I've gained some good weight, man. I'm definitely a little heavier than 77 kilos right now. That's for sure. But not by much, though. Not by much. I'm floating around. And especially it's been so hot out. We've been training, whenever I train jiu-jitsu, it's in someone's shed or garage. And it's just been so hot that after a quick little session, man, you will drop a quick, easy 5-6 pounds. So I'm still hovering around. I'm slightly above my normal weight. Let's say that.
That's fine. Listen, it's a very different world. Like, I always tell people I have a comfortable weight. I wouldn't call it a really fighting weight or anything, but I'm like, I like a comfortable weight.
Yeah.
When I realized I had to start finding ways to work out for myself was when I go, I'm above that comfortable weight. Like, right. I don't mind being like not the most in shape person, but if I get to that uncomfort level, then you just feel unhealthy. And that's when you have to find ways to move and do things for you. And, it's kind of rough because my mother-in-law is a nurse. Okay. So there is a lot of, what are you guys doing? And it's like, well, what do you think I'm doing? I'm doing nothing. I'm interviewing people about jiu-jitsu. Right. Like, well, are you training? Are you doing any of that? And I'm like, man, the least amount of training. Like, wish I could show you on a chart how much it dips for me training. And I kind of came to the point where I was doing some boxing training with a couple of my friends that I trusted, and one of whom was getting tested every week. Nice. And but it wasn't the same. Now, I got a couple rolling sessions with, again, much like you get a small network of people, and it's a completely different form of training. It's just, and I just think to myself, that's for me, the professional hobbyist. For a professional athlete, it is a significant difference. Yeah, man. It's strange times, man. It's the first time I ever encountered something like this in my competitive jiu-jitsu career, man. But I've told myself that, man, at least I've won 2 ADCC titles, so there's that thing. So when this first broke out, I'm like, man, when is jiu-jitsu ever gonna come back? And then I thought to myself, well, at least I already won 2 ADCC titles, so. Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with being the last champ at that ADCC weight. So there is always that. I mean, obviously, it's joking, but one of the things that I've been trying to ask the competitors is, how have you been able to navigate your competitive side? Because it's one thing to be told you can't do jiu-jitsu, and it's one thing to look out for the safety of your students and say, like, it doesn't make sense. I don't want to risk them, especially at dangerous times for New York. But there's a competitor side of you. You talked about having all of these goals, like, that you wanted to accomplish for the year, and obviously, after the first ADCC win, you were already thinking about the next one, the last go round. Right. So how have you been able to kind of navigate that championship mentality with, things are a little different right now? At first it was hard to cope with, but like, and I'm joking, but like I was saying, at least I got those 2 ADCC titles in my back pocket, I was telling myself. But
I'll be honest with you, I feel more bad for the younger guys who are, those guys who just got their black belts, those guys who are just, gearing up to, make their debuts and start working towards making their names at black belt. Luckily I've been competing at black belt for over 10 years now, so if my competitive career had to end tomorrow, I would be sad, but at the same time, like, well, I've done my thing. You know what I'm saying? So I've kind of come to terms with that during these times, telling myself that. But I've always thought about the younger guys because I have a room full of young, hungry purple belts and brown belts whose whole like competitive goals have kind of been put on hold. And I told myself, man, I can only imagine the newer black belts. I remember when I first got my black belt back in 2009. I was 19 years old. I was traveling every weekend, moving. I remember there was 2 tournaments back to back that I did. One weekend I was in Brazil. The following weekend I was in Japan. Like I was, that was my life, man. So I just think about the younger guys right now, and I kind of, I feel for them, man. It sucks, man, and I know it will, and it's just about when it will. Competitive jiu-jitsu come back full force. It's cool to see that IBJJF is coming back to the Austin for the first one, the Austin Open. It's cool to see Fight to Win doing their shows, but I can't wait for the day where jiu-jitsu comes back full blast, man. When we have the Pan Ams, the Worlds, Nogi Worlds, this, that, But yeah, man, that's kind of how I've been dealing with it, man. Just I've had the pleasure to compete at the highest level for a long time now, so I'm okay with that. I just feel for the younger guys, man.
Well, even the younger version of you 6 months ago, like you and I had an interview at the top of the year that I felt was, normally January interviews for me have a certain, I'm going to crush this year. I'm going to kill this. I'm going to do that. We had talked about you competing at Third Coast Grappling, and, that version of you was one that really stuck in my head as we were knee deep in the pandemic, because when you hear the athletes, and we had talked a little bit about competition mentality, and you said some great things that I think were very helpful in terms of perspective. I couldn't help but think as we were going through the pandemic at the very beginning of saying, like, man, even those things have shifted. Like,
yeah.
And it's not just you, it's all of us just trying to figure it out. And it's so hard when, especially I'm sure when you have students who they're looking up to you to be that good example. And so you want to be a good representative of not just jiu-jitsu, but yourself and your gym. And so when they're looking at you and they're going like, man, what's going to happen? You're like, listen, kids, I don't know. I'm knee deep in some ice cream right now. So your guess is as good as I am.
Right.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back to, I think right now, asking this. I want to get an idea of how it starts to come back for you. Can you describe what your first training session was? What you would refer to as like your first real training session, when you really got that opportunity.
So my first training session, it's like I felt like a fish that got caught on a hook and it got put into like a little freezer to get eaten later on, but somehow the freezer got knocked over and the fish fell back into the water and I just started swimming around again. That's how I felt, man. I'm like, wow, man, I'm back, man. I'm free. I'm swimming through the water again. It's exactly how I felt, man. I was about to be a fried fish. Now I'm back in the water swimming around. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little dried out. From being in the cooler for a few hours, but I'm back though. I'm back. That's exactly the best way to describe how I felt training again after those first 2 months of just training with my fiance, which was good for me, terrible for her. She hated every second of it. But, when I got to train with, I train with one of my brown belts who's about my size where I can go full blast. I'm like, man, I'm like Nemo. Remember Nemo when he got back into the ocean? I'm like, I'm back, man. That's me.
I've asked that question to a number of people, and I don't think anybody's had as a visual of a metaphor of like Raph, take Pixar's Finding Nemo,
Yes.
put me in there, and then imagine that's how I found my way back. I mean, that's amazing to hear and I think that has to feel refreshing because there are some people who haven't really gone back to training still.
Yeah.
And for those who have, it's not quite the Zooms. It's not quite that maybe 30% rolling that people are having, depending on space or comfort levels. So I've just been curious on how it all came back. Now, this is interesting, I guess, for your perspective, which is how did the time off have an impact on what you would consider your overall jiu-jitsu game?
Great, actually, man. Very good. And I'll tell you why. I think, well, at least this is at least for me. I've been somebody who's been training and training very hard and competing since I was 11, 12 years old, man. And I haven't stopped. Like I said, I'm about to be 31. So I've been competing and training for a long time. I first started competing as a kid in wrestling. I remember every weekend I was competing in wrestling tournaments. My dad would drag me up to Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York to go wrestle. So I've been competing, training for years, man. Then the last 4 years, I tacked on even more to my plate. I was competing and training, but also now running a school, right? Teaching tons of classes throughout the week, rolling with my students, and I was actually training more than ever. Ever since I opened my academy, I've actually trained more than I trained when I was just a competitor, right? So add that on top to everything, man, my body's been beat up for years. But the thing is, I've gotten used to it and I just know how to push through it, right? So now these last 4 or 5 months, man, my body feels great. It feels great, man. I haven't had this chance to rest the way I've rested these last few months. As far as my body, my mind's still been freaking racing, but my body has had a chance to kind of recover. My knees, my hands, my shoulders, my elbows, my neck. Just after years of grappling, it takes a toll on you, especially competitive grappling, right? So I feel great, man. Actually, my body feels great, and I've had time to kind of sit back and just think about technique. Just think about technique. Because there's one thing too, when you compete, you're only going to focus on your A game. Only, right? Because when you get ready to compete and try to win a Pan Am title, a world title, an ADCC title, you're not going to be like, oh, let me kind of experiment around with this position. No, man, you're not going to do that. You're only going to focus on your A game. Obviously, there's nothing to prepare for right now. So I've been just kind of experimenting with new techniques, new games. So I'm having fun in the sense that I'm trying new things and trying to add new things to my game. And at the same time, like I said, my body feels great, man. I feel healed up. I feel great.
Yeah, I don't know that I like a healed up version of you. Like the more that you were explaining, you're just like, I just found my man strength, my extra power from healing. Like, the one thing I thought was when you did get the shutdown, that look in your face when you put up an Instagram.
Yeah.
I don't know that I can really speak for you, but I like to think of myself as a JT Torres interpreter. When you were looking at the camera and you're like, it's all right, we're gonna still keep training. I was looking at you like, oh my God, I feel so bad for whoever's training with you right now. Like whoever is in this session is probably just getting mopped on the floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same point, that's good that you were able to find like the time to kind of heal and to get that back. I've also been curious about this. How did your students take the time off? Because again, you're not just watching your own growth, you're watching their growth. And I'm sure you're getting tons of messages from them about what they're going through as this is all happening.
Yeah. Well, I think across the board, everyone misses jiu-jitsu, but there's a chunk of the students who are deathly afraid of training, right? And, they're completely staying away, which is fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Then there's another part of the students who are like, dude, I want to train. Like I'm losing my mind over here. Like I need jiu-jitsu. And being a gym owner, man, has opened my eyes to so many different things. Jiu-jitsu is legit therapy for some people, man. Like legit. Like there's some people whose outlet is jiu-jitsu, man, and they need it. They need it. So those people, man, I know they're hungry to train again, man. They want to get back in the mess. And those are the people doing the speakeasy jiu-jitsus, right? Doing the garage training, the basement trainings, the attic trainings, the throwing mats in the backyard training session. So there's like I said, I think all of my students do miss jiu-jitsu, but there's a part of them that want to stay away from jiu-jitsu right now, which is fine. Everyone has their own views and everyone has different situations. Some people may have underlying health issues or have older people they live with, right? And there's a good chunk of them who are like, man, I'm young and able and I don't want to sit at home anymore. I want to get a workout. I want to sweat. I want to be healthy. I want to keep working towards my goals. That's one thing that I get a lot too. Professor JT, man, I don't want to stop working towards my goals. Because I've always preached that. I always preach that to my students. Always have something you want to work towards. Always. Whether it's winning a tournament or whether it's losing weight or whether it's just to get your black belt one day. Whatever it is, always have a goal to work towards. So I know those students are wanting to keep working towards those goals, man. And like I said, man, everyone's missing it, man. Everyone's, definitely missing the fun of it, man, because it's more than just the martial art. It's a lot. It's a lifestyle, man. As cliche as it sounds, it's so true, man. It's a lifestyle. Jiu-jitsu, people, work their life around jiu-jitsu because they love it and they just, add it to their lives. And now it's just been stripped away, man, the last few months. So if anything, it shows people how much they do love it and miss it. So I think when this all passes, some people are going to come back even hungrier than ever.
I've been waiting. I've been sitting on this joke, and I think you've probably gotten it to some extent. But like, whoever was complaining about you, see, I didn't know if they actually showed up and just like shut you down in person. I didn't know how it went about. I didn't know that they had a letter. But had they have shown up in person, I just felt like, couldn't you have just pointed to the sign and been like, look, it says essential in the name. Like, we're good here, bro. Like, all
right.
good.
I've had so many people have told me, dude, you are a genius for naming your school Essential, because now every time you Google Essential, whatever, my academy pops up. So which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And the other thing, though, in terms of you reopening, I also want to be very, very complimentary of what you were doing. So walk me through how you tried to follow their guidelines, because now that we get a little bit more into the actual reopening of it, we didn't discuss the actual steps that you were taking and how you thought you were complying with what their rules were. And it sounds like you were also making calls. And while I could understand they're busy, for them to send you a letter and not give you recourse,
right,
seems a little unfair. So do you mind walking us through just kind of the process that you were trying to make so that you could adhere to those guidelines?
Yeah. So, before I opened up, I got tested and I didn't have COVID, didn't have the antibodies. So I posted that, showed my students like, look, guys, I'm good. I'm not sick. I haven't been sick or wasn't sick. Then on top of that, I completely disinfected the entire academy, man. I remember I spent an entire week cleaning that place, floor to ceiling, man. And we usually clean, a few times a day, regardless. But I did a super, super deep cleaning. Then after that, I mapped out 6 feet, 6 feet by 6 feet boxes, 6 feet apart from one another. And my academy isn't that big, so I only had 8 boxes. So they told me limited capacity, limited contact, or no contact, right? Or they said limited contact, but I took it to a different level and I said, you know what? For the first few weeks, I'm not going to do any contact whatsoever. So I only had 8 people per class. Everyone stands in their box. I was wearing a mask during the classes. I had no contact whatsoever with the students. The students had no contact whatsoever with one another. And I was putting them through solo drill classes, man, like an intense 45-minute workout, like hip heists, hip escapes, standing up in base, shadow wrestling, sprawls, it was actually a tough class, and the students were a little surprised because when I first announced, like, hey guys, we're going to come back for solo drill classes, people were like, that sounds like it's going to be too easy. And they're like, whoa, we did not expect this. So they actually started picking up some momentum, because what we were doing, you had to reserve your class, because we only had 8 spaces available in the class. And, my academy some nights would have almost 40 people in the mat. So now I had to reduce it down to only 8 people per class. And people had to reserve classes. So, we were open 2 weeks before we got shut down again. But towards the end of those 2 weeks, I started having like a wait list for people to reserve for classes, because people really started enjoying the classes. And, they were enjoying just being back in the academy and just sweating, man, just working out and just doing something. But I was wearing a mask throughout the whole time, keeping the distance, not allowing the students to roll with one another. And then, I was cleaning before and after every session, cleaning the mats, which we usually do anyways, but I was doing it more often, I guess. I was cleaning the mats in the morning, after the class, in the afternoon, after the afternoon class, and then at night I would have cleaners come in and clean the school. So the school was being cleaned like 6 to 8 times a day. And that's what I was doing, man. The students felt happy. They were pumped. And I was following the guidelines, man. I was following the guidelines that they gave me, and they closed me back down, man. It just kind of just crushed me, man. I was like, damn, like, this sucks, man. This sucks, and that's where I'm at, man. That's what I was doing. I thought I was following the rules. I think I was following the rules. No one came up to even check if I was following the rules. They just told me to close.
So, to your knowledge, nobody ever stepped foot in your gym who was, unless they're like some weird secret shopper or anything like that. But even then, you, to your interpretation, were following it as best as possible. I guess the thing that I want to make clear to people as well that puts you in a particular case is that those deep cleans don't come cheap.
No.
So it's also at an expense for you as a gym owner
Yeah.
to, even before you can recoup some of those costs as a business owner, to just make those things present so that you do follow the guidelines and make it safe for your students.
Yeah, man. That's another aspect of it that, obviously I'm not doing jiu-jitsu, for money. Money is important. Of course, we all need money to pay our bills and, buy food and pay our rent or pay our mortgage, whatever it is, right? But, I do jiu-jitsu because I love it, man. It's my passion, and this is what I love. That's what I do. But, having jiu-jitsu as my full-time income, man, like that part of my life has taken a huge hit, man. Like I said, I was gearing up to move to the academy. I wanted to buy a house for myself, and I'm not sure where that lands in the timeline now for myself, man. I'm just trying to kind of walking on thin ice right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make all the right moves, but again, like I said earlier, it's like I'm walking on thin ice with a blindfold on. Like, I'm not sure if I'm stepping in the right direction or not, but I'm just taking it day by day, man, and just trying to do the best I can, and just hopefully making the right move. But like I said, I'm just focused on, keeping the business alive, man. I want to keep Essential alive and come back stronger than ever, man. So that's where my focus is on right now.
So, kind of going back a little bit, I wouldn't ask this to a normal amount of people. It's not like I hear a ton of ever politics talk from JT, and politics talk for me really doesn't make sense. But I am curious if the conditions that you were facing in regards to jiu-jitsu had any effect on how you were perceiving, say, the news or anything like that. Because for most people in jiu-jitsu, you see it pretty quickly. When they see something, they give you their opinion on it. For you, you're very, tighten it in there, but just from your own perspective, you don't need to be specific.
Right.
But did it affect the way that you would, like, say, when you were watching the news, you would watch the news, or did it have any effect on you in that mental capacity?
It did, man. It did, absolutely. Actually, I'll be honest with you. After the first few weeks of quarantine, I stopped watching the news. I'm just like, man, I can't watch this anymore, man, because I have my mom and my sister are both nurses. My dad is he works in the cath lab in a hospital, where they work on, people with heart attacks and pacemakers and all that. So I have tons of family members who work in the medical field and work in hospitals and stuff like that. So they told me, talking with them, I know how severe the COVID-19 is, but at the same time, I think the media can sometimes control, the way we perceive things and see things. So, I was trying to gain the right information. That's what I'm trying to say. I was just trying to get the right information, and I'm lucky enough to have people who work in the medical field. So I was just going to them for my information. Like, okay, what should I do? What's wrong? What's right? What's the safest way? And so I kind of stayed away from the news and try to talk to people who are actually on the front lines. Like my mom and sister throughout this time have worked with patients with COVID. You know what I'm saying? So they know firsthand what's up. And my dad's been in the same room with people with COVID. You know what I'm saying? So I talked to them firsthand and got my information from people who are directly on the front lines.
Well, I think that would explain why you had a much more informed process and why I think it makes sense. And please thank them for all of their help, especially in New York. That couldn't have been an easy task at the very beginning of the pandemic. Now the numbers they were coming down a little bit for you guys, and I think it was a good effort put in by the state. It was just, I think, trying to reconcile that with looking at how it was going for your gym and all of that sort of stuff. It just becomes unfortunate that you would probably have what could be somebody reporting. Well, obviously it was, but when they say multiple people doing that sort of thing, it makes me think it could be a number of things. And I just wonder, how have you not allowed that to affect you? Because for the most part, you got it out of your system, I want to say, within a couple days, and then you just went back to work.
Yeah. I kind of just come with terms with it, man. And I keep using that same example. It's like you're in a tough spot in a match, man. You can't give up. I'm just trying to figure out the right game plan to go about this situation. That's what I'm trying to do. But just staying focused, man. Just staying focused and just having faith, man. Having hope, man. Positive mental attitude, man. Just knowing that we're gonna come out through this, and make it on top, man. And just take it to the next level once this all passes.
What was the best advice that you've received in terms of how to deal with this? Because, I mean, part of the reason why I did the name drop of The Rock is you've kind of got a little bit of a rock presence in terms of jiu-jitsu. I mean, you're not as big as him, but but for our brand, your photos always have a certain style to them. You've always got really positive messages. You've got a good attitude. You got a same kind of work ethic that I would see. So, while maybe not the Dwayne Johnson per se of our sport, you definitely have put yourself as a leader and as somebody that people look to for a reliable, positive light spin on a number of things. So did you get any advice or any kind of perspective from anybody else that helped you to kind of navigate through this?
I've heard this before many times, but sometimes you got to hear these things at the right moment. And I remember my dad was like, you can only control the things you can control. Everything else, there's no use in trying to fight those things, because that's what's going to drive you crazy at the end of the day. And that's what I started focusing on, man. I'm like, I'm going to control what I can control and just stay focused on those things, because those other things are out of my control, as far as, opening dates and this and that, or how to stop COVID-19 altogether. I can't control that, so I'm not going to wrestle with this in my mind all day, because if I do, I'm going to go freaking nuts, just trying to focus on the things I can control, man. That's all I've been doing these last few months.
So with the Thevalente match in general, I guess I wanted to get a timeline on that as well, because I remember that week vividly on my own perspective. I work essentially at Universal Studios, so we film and do TV shows out of that. Yeah. And, I was reading the whole week. It's like, James Bond is going to be delayed. Mulan's going to be delayed. And then once I saw that Disney was shutting down, cut to me at my desk, grabbing a bag and being like, well, all right, hold on. And they're like, we haven't shut down. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah. So for me, there was a perspective of, people may not be ready to do that. And I know Third Coast was really trying to see what was going on. So do you mind explaining how that timeline went for us?
Yeah, so I was getting ready to compete. and that was actually the week of. So I remember it was like a Tuesday, I think, and I think it was Tuesday night when they released the information saying that anyone that was out of state of Texas is no longer on the card. I was just like, what? Like, I just busted my ass these last couple of weeks training for this match. I'm always somebody, whenever I, set my eyes on a challenge, I train for it, man. I don't believe in just showing up and just, I don't give it my best shot. Like, I train hard. So I was training hard for it, man. And just when that happened, it kind of started sinking into me like, maybe things are going to get worse, right? And that same week, I think it was the next day, I was watching an NBA game. I'm a huge basketball fan. I love watching basketball. And I remember I was watching, I think it was the Pelicans play. I was watching Zion play. And it was during halftime that they announced the NBA season is going to be suspended after this game. And I was like, whoa, this just got serious. This is okay. They're not joking around. You know what I'm saying? And then the day after that is when everything was mandated to close and boom, 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 boom. So it kind of all happened one after the other, man. And, like I said, when I closed my gym, I thought to myself, oh, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Again, I'm here 5, almost 6 months later. It's already August and I'm still closed, still looking for answers. But like I said, I'm just trying to control the things I can control. That's it.
Well, I was doing an interview with Stephen Kesting because, it helps if somebody does jiu-jitsu and can speak both languages. And, he was very nice and he made the case and it totally made sense. And I totally understand it was the right thing to do. But when he came on, and I can only be as honest as I am as a host who also trains jiu-jitsu.
Right.
But he goes, yeah, so we're really talking about taking some time and doing that. And I go, absolutely, Steven, we can take 2 weeks off. And he goes, it might be more. And I go, can we negotiate this? Can we get that down to just 1 week? Because I'm thinking to myself, like, this is my magic trick for both mental health and for, weight loss and control and as a crossword puzzle for me. So it's all of these things of different mental, physical stimuli that I'm just like, oh, now I got to figure out how to exist without this sort of a thing. So that's why it became so important to talk about these things and to create a sense of it. But one thing that I thought that was really good that I saw that you were doing was, how much did your students and even your online academy improve from this time? Because I know that you had your fiance stepping in and being a good training partner for you, but I'm sure you had to also modify how you exist on a digital presence as well.
Yes. Yeah. So we're definitely pushing the online website a whole lot more because, for a lot of people, that was the only option, right? People were stuck at home. Some of them had mats, some of them had carpets, and usually they had a loved one or a dog or a big stuffed animal to drill on. So the online website actually did much better throughout these last few months. A lot more people got on there and started checking it out, which made me super happy. I was trying to upload as much as possible. I was still sneaking into the academy once a week to film some new positions and upload. And yeah, man, it was going well, man. I appreciate all the students and all the students worldwide who jumped on there. I had students from all over the world, man, register for the online website, essentialbjonline.com. So if you guys want to check it out, make sure you go check it out. You guys are going to enjoy it. I post, gi, no gi, rolling footage on there. So I was happy to see that, and I'm happy people were taking advantage of that. Because like I said, we can't let this hold us back or stop us from progressing. There's always a way that we can keep working and keep improving. And like I told you earlier, I was using footage, studying a lot of footage. So I recommend that to a lot of students out there. And even after this all passes, footage is key, man. Studying footage, watching instructionals and take, technique breakdowns is crucial to learning, man. Crucial.
I was, I would record all my rolls and I would ask the guys, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to send this to JT. I'm not going to send this to other people. I need to see and make the most out of my time. Yeah. And it got to the point where if I wasn't in frame or I saw somebody do something else, I was sending text to people and being like, this is why your half guard sucks. Fix this post here. Don't do this. And they were like, oh, thanks, Raph. And I was like, that's how bored I am. I'm literally telling you how to beat my own game. now. Like, just enjoy it and have it. Because I said when I get back to what I would consider more regular training, I know that the best thing I'll really do on my own personal growth is have harder sessions to have better breakthroughs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I've been revealing bits and pieces of being like, this is why you never get me here. Here you go, kids. And they go, oh, thanks, man. I was like, you wouldn't have gotten that if it wasn't the pandemic. So pass it on and be nice to somebody. So I'm curious on this as well, which is, given all things pandemic wise, and especially with your knowledge of knowing what's going on with your family and then explaining from a real life situation, given all those risks and the inherentness of it, do you feel that jiu-jitsu is something that you would still do given all those risks and still like actively roll or compete, given the fact that now we do know a little bit more about it, but does that factor into how much you want to compete or how much you want to like actually do jiu-jitsu still?
If anything, this made me want to do more jiu-jitsu, man. And like this, I think a key to dealing with this whole situation is also trying to be as healthy as possible. And I think jiu-jitsu can be part of that solution, man. I think, when you look after your health and make sure you're healthy and strong and able, jiu-jitsu can help you accomplish that. So if anything, man, it makes me want to make sure I stay in shape and stay healthy much more than ever before. And I think the same goes a lot for a lot of people, man. I think these times have showed us you got to be healthy, man. You got to be, you got to put down the cigarettes, put down the alcohol, put that down and train, get in shape, be healthy, be more conscious about what you're eating and what you're putting into your body, that kind of stuff. And I think that will help. I think it would help what we're dealing with now.
Yeah, I mean, just to show how much of a shock to a system it is, when I saw you putting the photo up with you and a beer in hand, I was like, huh?
Yeah.
No, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Like, that man is like, that's how you can tell the day it's been. You're just looking at us with a beer in hand and being like,
get a beer, man. Now, a beer here and there is good.
Yeah.
It's good. A bunch of beers every day, no good.
I would tell you this. One of the things that I was doing very early on the pandemic is I saw that other, people were saying like, oh, what about small businesses? And I said, you know what, let's find the 3 to 5 businesses that you can make an impact on and support those people. And so for me, it became jiu-jitsu things. It became, I've got a local brewery that I love. And then I was like telling them, I go, listen, I'm really just supporting you guys, but it's not even like I like want to drink all that much. Because I can't work it off. Like normally if I could work it off, I'm fine. But if for this, I'm like, ooh, how much is in here?
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing, man. Like, a lot of my friends who own like I have one friend who owns a tattoo shop. He released some t-shirts. I bought a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to do my end too, man. The local restaurants I have near me, like mom and pop shops, restaurants, like I try to get food from them, every once in a while. I'm just trying to help, and I know how far it goes because, my fiance's family, they own a restaurant, a family owned restaurant. So it's been tough on everybody, man. So if I can support, I'm going to try to support. And I just hope, it comes back around our way too, which it has. I've had a lot of great support from, friends and students throughout these last few months. So, you gotta keep it going around, man, because we're all going to help one another come out of this.
With that said, where do you see jiu-jitsu going over the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a great question, man. And this is what I'm thinking. I think 2020 is kind of done for, obviously, as far as jiu-jitsu and all that. But I think 2021, we're going to see a huge spike in jiu-jitsu, man, as far as the amount of people who want to work out and train, and as far as competitions, because everyone's been on hold for an entire year, man. And when there's something that you want and you can't have it, what usually happens? You want it more. You want it more. So I think 2021, man, is going to be a great year for jiu-jitsu and just the entire fitness industry altogether, man. Because like I said, I think this has showed people you got to be healthy, right? You got to be healthy. And then as far as jiu-jitsu, I mean, when you want something, you can't have it, you usually want it more. And I think 2021, we're going to come out with a bang, man. That's just my, what I'm predicting.
So with that being said, and you've alluded to this a little bit, I think a couple times, but I was also interested in hearing, what is one positive thing that has come out of this for either you or your students? Because we've concentrated so much on the negative that I feel like I don't want that to be the overwhelming narrative from this time.
Yeah. So one thing that I noticed right off the bat, man, is that it made the team stronger as far as team morale goes, man. I saw a lot more people stepping up and just checking on one another. Like, yo, how you doing today, man? How you feeling? Like, even my own students, man, they will call me. They're like, yo, professor, man, I just want to call you to see how you're doing. I'm like, man, thank you. I appreciate that, man. You just made my day. I was having a pretty bad day, but your phone call, your text, your Facebook message, whatever it is, just made my day. So it was really cool for me to see that, man. Like, students looking out for one another during these times. And like you said, like, just mental health call-ups. Like, yo, how are you today, man? How are you feeling? Are you having a bad day? Let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about something good. So I'm glad I saw that. And I think that just helps bring everyone closer together, man. And it just makes the team stronger at the end of the day, man.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've been going around asking the folks during this time, to both athletes, practitioners, personalities, has been, what are you interested in hearing about for other jiu-jitsu athletes, personalities in regards to their training? Because we talk so much about this mental health, and I think it's great that people check in on each other.
Right.
But because we know this is a crutch for so many people in their mental health and their training, and they become like one and the same, I've been curious, are there things that you wanted to know about other people? Because, I mean, this is what the beautiful part about doing these interviews is, I've been able to kind of pay that forward.
Right. So you're asking me, like, what do I want to know about other people's?
Like what they're going through that maybe would make you understand your own journey a little bit more, or kind of relate to them. So what kinds of things do you think you would like to hear about with their journeys with COVID right now?
I would like to hear how they're still working towards their goals. That's one thing I would be curious to hear, because like I said before, we can't use as an excuse to stop working towards our goals. There's always something we can do. And I think it would be beneficial for people to hear how other, jiu-jitsu athletes are still working towards their goals. This way, we can help motivate other people and keep other people still inspired during these dark times.
I think that's a good segue to one of my last questions, which is, okay, does ADCC mean more in 2021 because of all of this?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think ADCC 2021 may be, the first big tournament back, right? It very well could be. I'm not sure when Gi Worlds are coming back or no Gi Worlds are coming back. So ADCC 21 may be the big welcome back party, man.
But for you as an athlete, because you have had an interesting story where, we've cataloged it. The first time it was you won brand new academy. The second time was, all right, now I've done this. You already are going to have an invitation into it. So I just wonder, when you say working towards goals for people, I can't help but think, as a competitor, does ADCC now mean like that opportunity of, it's great for the sport and I see a continued growth, but for you, are you already like putting a calendar and being like, see you in September?
Absolutely, man. It's always, like I said, I've always been somebody who always has a goal to work towards. When you have a goal to work towards, it gives you a reason to wake up in the morning and do what you got to do. So 2021 is definitely marked on the calendar. ADCC is definitely marked on the calendar, man. And it's exciting in the sense that's going to give me that fire again, man.
That's what's up. All right. Well, let's do this. I want to ask you if there is any kind of message that you want to share or anything that you kind of wanted to put out there. You know, I've been trying to end these things on like a blanket statement of allowing the guest to kind of say something that they want to say that's either you know, a statement they want to leave with COVID or just the situation that we're in. So I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to give you the floor, sir.
All right, cool. So, you know, to the whole community out there, I hope you guys are staying safe and healthy. Keep your mental health strong as well. Check up on one another. Don't feel afraid or ashamed to reach out to somebody just to talk to them and see how they're doing, or just, you know, for your own help. Don't hesitate. Always reach out. We're here for one another. And I'm going to say this, we're always going to get further when we work together and spread positivity rather than negativity. There's enough negativity in the world already. There's no reason for us to continue, you know, bashing one another or fighting with one another online or whatever the case may be. We got to work towards, you know, greater things together, and we got to spread more positivity in the world. Stay safe, everyone.
Great statement. JT, you know, it's funny. I got people who ask me, why 7 a.m.? And I said, well, that's when the champ wants to go. So as far as I'm concerned, that's champ hours. So I was like, listen, bro, I'll just put some coffee in here. You know, I can't promise you what my brain will be like, but you put the green light on me, I'm going to go. So I was just like, hey, if that's the time he wants to go, then that's what we're going to do. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your time and your candor and all this, bud. I am rooting for you in your school. We're going to keep you, you know, at the forefront of all of our thoughts, but more importantly, like, if there are things that we can ever do to help with you in your case, because I know that this is just a current setback for the time being. Yeah. But it really did upset me on a visceral level, because I was just watching you. I watched your journey of trying to make it safe. I saw that the numbers were coming down, and I said, you know, if they have to shut them down, it would be for everybody and not just you, sort of a deal. And to single you out like you weren't doing it right just felt like a little not cool for the time.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
So we are definitely going to be pulling for you, and I can't encourage you guys enough. Go on over, get over with JT Essential Jiu-Jitsu, buy some merch, go on over that way. Also, find yourself over to the online academy for them. I'm very excited to see the things that you guys have been putting up and stuff there, because like I said, all of us have been doing mental reps. So it's very important that we get that championship mentality from one JT Torres. All right, JT, stick around real quick. I'll talk to you off air, but I'm going to close up this little thing real quick, sir. All right, here was what I've got to say. A nice reminder. So tomorrow we're with Andrew Alexander. That's probably at 2:30 Best Coast time. Not really sure. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in today. I cannot thank JT enough. He is so kind with his time, and more importantly, I think that he's got a really good message. And I really hope that if you were watching today and you are a gym owner, you understand it is a tough time, but I think it's really important that we pull together as a community, help each other as much as we can, because we all want people to have a place to train when this is all said and done. If you have a gym that is directly affected by COVID or has any sort of hardships or anything like that, reach out to me. I'm happy to go ahead and feature them on there. We've been doing a hashtag Save Jiu-Jitsu gyms series that we've featured a number of gyms on, and I want to make sure that they know they always have a friendly voice to reach out to. Those are great interviews, and I'm so happy to do them. All right, last thing. If you're going to buy some gear, go to No-Gi BJJ Gear. Use Grappling Hour 15. Take 15% off of whatever you put in your cart. There's also a giant French Bulldog photo. Now, I don't know if I'm supposed to wear that in front of my French Bulldog, because I don't know that she would be cool with it, but I'm apparently getting it sent to me, so we're going to find out all together. And I would also encourage you to check out JT's lovely, lovely dog himself as well. I believe it's Oliver. So anyway, that's what I got for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys back tomorrow. Cannot thank you enough. It's been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats eventually.